Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Welcome to the Real HR Show.
It is the real HR with a barking dog in it
It
on
is.
top of it.
And if we'd started 5 minutes ago, there would have been a purring cat too, but she got bored and left.
That is so funny.
Or
All
maybe
right.
the barking dog scared her off. I don't know.
Right? I don't know. We'll see. All right. So we're here. We're going to have some fun today.
Yes, we are. We are going to have fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we've got a little bit, we're doing an interesting twist today. I have no idea what we're talking about. I mean, I have a general idea what we're talking about, but Suzanne is actually going to have she's going to have probably the most fun.
I'm going to have the most fun. So what we're going to do today is it's the end of the year, and it's that time of year where people put out their top 10 lists and blah, blah, blah. And so Alison Green, who writes Ask a Manager, and if you don't follow her, you should be, because she's brilliant and fascinating, and she's an advice columnist. And so she collects her stories throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, everyone votes for who the worst boss is. And Brenda hasn't read these stories yet. So
No.
she's gonna be finding out about these worst bosses and probably having a heart attack. So
Oh, I know. I got my defibrillator next to me.
very
Along with a big bottle of bourbon. Apparently, I might need that.
no bourbon bottles during
it's 5
the
o'clock somewhere.
day. HR doesn't do that.
Oh, yes, we do.
This HR doesn't.
Behind the scenes, we do it.
That
Yeah. At
HR.
home, in our private lives, yes, we do. Just not at work. So
Just not at work. That's right. So it is it is kind of shocking how awful bad bosses can be. So if we're ready.
I'm ready if you're ready.
All right, here we go. So the first story, ein Moment. All right, here is a situation where the boss wrote in and tattled on herself, which is not usually how it happens, but it is indicative of a boss that is clueless. So she says, actually, I don't know if it's male or female. I'm just assuming it's a woman. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm not comfortable with one of my new staff members and how overconfident she is. Her work is great and she needed very little training, but she's got very big britches.
Okay, hold on one second. Who is the boss writing to? So I have
this is writing to Alison at Ask a Manager. So she's writing
okay.
to Alison's help.
So she's writing into this open general website.
She's writing in to Alison, who does career advice. So she sends an email and then Alison posts it on her website, like I do, but Alison posts like 6 times a day because she's like superhuman. I don't know. So this is a question being asked by a manager.
Okay. Got it.
All right. She says, Jane has been with us for 2 months. Just today, she asked for a meeting with me and my payroll manager. It turns out that payroll made an error entering her direct deposit information that resulted in Jane not getting paid, not once, but 2 times. Our company requires potential candidates to complete sample assignments during the interview process, and we pay them on an hourly contractor rate. It turns out she didn't get paid for an assignment period or for the next full pay cycle. The payroll employee apologized directly to Jane in an email. However, because it was their error in entering the information and not following up and fixing it, that resulted in Jane not getting paid. Jane was able to show emails back and forth where she checked in with the payroll employee and asked if it was fixed, which they confirmed it was. Today was payday and Jane didn't get paid. She checked in with the employee again and they acknowledged that they thought it was fixed. It's upsetting for Jane, I understand, but I think she was out of line about the whole thing. People make mistakes. Neither payroll nor I knew anything about it until today. We both apologized and assured her that the issue could be handled. After that, she looked at me and the payroll manager and said, I appreciate your apology, but I need you to both understand that this can't happen again. This has put me under financial strain and I can't continue to work for a company if this isn't corrected today. The payroll manager was heavily in agreement, but I was speechless that she'd speak to management like that. Payroll handled the whole thing and cut her a check with an okay from HR. Jane had referenced that not being paid put her in financial hardship and wasn't able to pay bills. So HR allowed her the use of employee hardship fund and gave her $500 in gift cards so she could get groceries and gas and catch up on bills. I'm just kind of floored that she's getting gift cards after speaking to her superiors like that. I'm also uncomfortable because why is our company responsible for her fiscal irresponsibility? Her personal finances or debts are not the company's responsibility.
Can you slow down? You're talking really fast.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Jane,
You're like, the more passionate it gets, the more you speed up.
I know. Jane had referenced that not being paid put her in financial hardship and unable to pay bills. So HR allowed her the use of the employee hardship fund and gave her $500 in gift cards so she can get groceries and gas and catch up on bills. I'm just kind of floored that she's getting gift cards after speaking to her superiors like that. I'm also uncomfortable because why is our company responsible for her fiscal irresponsibility? Her personal finances or debts are not the company's responsibility. I just don't think that it's employee's responsibility to give her more than what she's earned. The extra $500 from the employee emergency relief fund to fix things for her if she overspent or didn't prioritize her bills or save smartly. We also don't know if she's actually experiencing a financial hardship or just claiming she was. HR allowed her paid time to go to the bank today and deposit her check. I told our HR person that while it's not okay that Jane didn't get paid, the way she approached it was uncalled for. HR told me she's right. It can't happen again and it shouldn't have happened at all. I'm getting tired of the respect gap. I'm seeing it with younger staff. I think Jane would be better suited in a different department. I'm not comfortable having her on my team since it's obvious she doesn't understand she's entry level and not in charge. Should I wait a while before suggesting she transfer to a different department? There you go.
Okay. So first off, I hope does this manager have a name or no?
We don't have a name now.
Okay. I hope she realizes that entry level people at some point in time are not independently wealthy.
What?
And I know, imagine
What?
that. So look, I'm sorry, but if the business can't seem to get payroll together, they should not be surprised at how aggro an employee is going to start getting when stuff isn't being taken care of and their welfare is at risk. If this manager needs to step away from her own ego, and it could be a guy, it could be a woman, whatever. But you know what? Look, we're not in the military. We're not doing superiors. And the fact that the company is at fault for putting an employee who likely is living paycheck to paycheck because she is entry level and she only makes so much money in harm's way financially. So the manager is absolutely out of line and getting a bruised pride because this is now 3 paychecks that the employee has been impacted by, and that's a month and a half.
Yeah,
That's a month.
I mean, I am not an entry-level person. I'm I don't know, what do we call it? A mid-career professional, a late career professional. I don't know what I am. Anyway, if I don't get paid in 6 weeks, that's a problem.
It's a huge problem. And you know what? I mean, a person can only pay. I mean, the whole reason why this person is now having financial difficulties because the company has made the mistake. And you know what? HR absolutely has done the right thing. I think it's awesome that HR actually has an employee hardship fund. I think that's brilliant.
I do too.
To be able to pull from that independently from without having to get any form of authorization. They have it in the form of gift cards, which is even like big ring the bell on that one, because even though, yes, the employee is going to have to get taxed on that, there's no obligation to the employee to pay it back. It's a great opportunity from a company standpoint to demonstrate that they are doing everything that they can to help alleviate the situation and take responsibility. And not to mention just the general welfare of the employee. I mean, to give them $500 to be able to get food.
Right. Right. And
Food.
the idea that this manager had that she spoke inappropriately. I mean, clearly the manager is writing it to make the employee look in the worst light possible. And she still
For
comes
something
off
that
looking
they did.
great. The
Yeah.
employee did everything she could and did it professionally. And everybody agrees except this manager who has her knickers in a twist. And, you know, Allison did hand her head on a platter. And
I would have
now
too.
she's in the running for one of the worst bosses of the year. And I hope, I mean, talk about devastating to have that happen to you, is, you know, have the whole world realizing how awful you are. But I hope that she takes it to heart and recognizes what she did wrong here.
She's got some maturing and growing to do in order to do that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if she can't now work with this person because she doesn't feel comfortable, do like look, this is leadership. And if you can't hack it, don't be in it. You know, do not take on a management position if you can't handle the pressure of that evaluation. And if your pride is that, I'm sorry, that much that sensitive, and a lot of people are probably going to think I'm being judgmental on that, but yeah, because I've done it. I've been in that position, and you have to own everything when you're leading employees. You've got skin in the game in everything that happens. Even when an employee steps out of line, you've got ownership somewhere in it. You really do. It's either proper expectations weren't set, or I mean, even if you like feel that you can't work with somebody because you think they're being unreasonable, they're not being unreasonable, they're pissed. And rightfully so.
Yeah,
Now you've got skin in that.
absolutely. And like you said, if you can't handle it, you don't have to go into management. It's not a
Right.
requirement, you know. And you know, I once had a fantastic coworker, just a fantastic guy. And he had managed people and had said, you know what, this is not for me. And he had moved back to an individual contributor role because he was like, you know what, I'm really good at doing and I hate the managing. And that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Not everybody should be a manager. Absolutely.
No, I agree. I mean, look, this, I hate to say it, this is no different than what we're seeing in the news right now with the whole Alec Baldwin case, right? I'm
Oh
sorry.
my word.
We won't go down the rabbit hole too bad on this, but Alec, you were the one with the gun in your hand. You're the one that pulled the trigger. The weapon you had discharged, it's in your hand. You got skin in the game.
And
It does. There's a lot of things that led up to that, and that's not what the show is. But what I'm saying is that similar, we got things that have led up to this particular payroll issue. And as a manager, you represent the company, which means that you have to take responsibility along the same way.
absolutely. All right, we're going to move to the next worst boss nominee, just because otherwise I might start talking about how angry I am about Alec Baldwin, and that is not this show.
Breathe through your nose.
All I want to say is, even if you're using a prop gun in a play, you should have gun safety training. You should. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Now, this next one, Brenda, should be near and dear to your heart because it involves a service dog.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Which, you know, Brenda has a dog, as you might have noticed. Okay, here we go. I work for a smallish company, 80 people. I have epilepsy and I have a seizure alert dog. She can detect when I'm about to have a seizure, which helps me get somewhere safe. She's alerted when I'm on the stairs, so I know to sit down immediately, or if I'm walking along a busy road, I can move off to the side. She's very good at what she does. Usually I get a 2 or 3 minute warning and can ask for help or preemptively call someone like my husband. She'll also find a person and direct them to my medical alert bracelet if I'm unable to tell what is happening ahead of time. Here's the problem. She's a smaller dog. She's a 20-pound mutt. Since she doesn't provide mobility assistance of any kind, she also doesn't wear a full harness like a seeing eye dog would. She walks on a standard collar and leash, though she does have a fabric vest that says service dog in large letters. So if someone does see her when she's looking for assistance, it's pretty obvious that they should follow her. Recently, we hired a new VP of HR. This person says they do not believe that my dog is a real medical dog and not just an emotional support animal or pet I want to bring to work. They say she is too small and she doesn't wear real medical equipment. Allison, I paid literally tens of thousands of dollars for this dog and her training. She has saved my life with alerts on more than one occasion. She's also given me back freedom I didn't have before because I was unable to go anywhere alone. The VP of HR has no complaints about her behavior. She walks calmly beside me or rests under my desk during the day. She doesn't bark, and the only time I take her out for a bathroom break is when I'm on lunch. Nobody in the office has said anything that I know of. This person simply says they've never heard of a dog that does this type of work and they've never seen a small service dog. So therefore I must be lying. I have provided paperwork with the training organization and my medical team, and they say you can print papers like that off the internet. I went to the CEO, the VP of HR's boss, because I didn't have my dog, I can't go to work. And they said this was out of their area of expertise, but couldn't I just get a bigger dog? I guess it's so obvious that they're a working dog. I'm not really sure what to do from here. Other than this particular incident, I love my job and I'd like to keep working here.
Okay, so first off, the VP of HR doesn't have a problem with this, but a lower level HR employee does, who is clearly not doing the research. This is the consequence of not doing your research.
The VP of HR is the one with the issue.
Oh, I thought you said the VP of HR does not have an issue.
No, she does have an issue. Nobody else.
Okay, so all right. So okay, well, regardless, the VP of HR has not done the appropriate homework and actually read the requirements that were issued out by the Department of Justice as it pertains to service animals under the American with Disabilities Act. So I can tell you what it says. And basically it says that it doesn't have to be any particular breed, size, or condition of the dog, so long as it is a service animal. It's a trained service animal. It does not have to be certified. The only reason why it would need to be certified is in order to meet the FAA and transportation requirements to be able to fly a dog on a plane as a service dog. Other than that, the dog doesn't even need to have a vest. And if HR had any concerns about it, all they would need to do is actually engage in the interactive process, and the employee would get instructions to go ahead and provide detailed information from the physician, which they don't even need to do this, by the way. Employers aren't even permitted to challenge this according to the DOJ, but your employer can actually request confirmation from a physician as to what so similar to like if somebody said that they were on drugs and there was a concern around using machinery, then the physician would just have to give what the limitations the employee would have as a result of being on whatever kind of medication as an accommodation. So the doctor can easily document an accommodation because that's where accommodations come from. But even the DOJ says that isn't even necessary. So long as the employee can actually demonstrate or give information on a very limited basis, and you'd have to look up the exact language on this for the parameters of this, that there should be very little challenge to an actual service dog.
This should have been a no-brainer case, but it's just fascinating. This is where, you know, the VP of HR gets a B in, VP of HR gets a B in her bonnet and can't let it go. And is clearly not willing to do any sort of research or questioning. Just the size of the dog is too small. I mean,
no, the size of the animal, the size of the canine has nothing to do with it. If the canine is capable of addressing the disability in order to not protect, but in order to prevent the disability from happening or aid the employee through the episode that is occurring to the disability, size means nothing.
Right. And this is just
emotional support is something different. This dog addresses a specific condition.
And it's amazing. And these epilepsy dogs do exist and they're amazing. And there's also dogs for diabetics that can detect changes in blood sugar.
Yes, they can.
And they are freaking amazing. And really, like this letter writer said, gave her her life back.
And dogs are capable of identifying the waves of panic and emotional stress and can actually stop. I've seen dogs in action actually for people that are having, like, especially in autism. those that have severe anxiety. I've actually seen dogs in public in action prevent somebody from who's autistic having an extreme anxiety attack. And the way the dog does it is, in this particular scenario, is when they start getting physically agitated, they start getting into it, the dog actually jumps up and forces, very lovingly nudging, like like a goat, kind of nudging on in, kind of like what Koa does with me when he wants to get my attention. Actually kind of nudging in to the point where they actually literally wrap themselves, arms, like they're giving that person a hug, and that person can therefore embrace the dog, and the dog is constantly like nudging them, like, get out of it, stop it. And it's like, getting that brain pattern to stop and to interrupt whatever's going on. And the person can actually get through it, and either they ride a smaller wave of it, or the dog has been successful as interrupting it. But that's how it's done. And it's important that happens. I've also seen dogs who have know what to do when somebody collapses. And I saw a video of it not too long ago, and it was a real thing. A family member actually observed this. It was a woman who went down, she collapsed, she completely lost consciousness. She does have epilepsy as well. She didn't go into a seizure, but she did collapse. And this dog immediately ran ahead and got the woman's husband. Now, in this situation, if a canine who's a service dog is now separated from their owner, anybody who sees that should go, holy cow, where's the handler? That's a problem. When a service dog is separated from the handler, the dog is trying to notify somebody that, hey, listen, there is a problem, I need your help. So especially if a dog is like out in a neighborhood or something like that, and it is service, that means that something has happened to the handler, and the dog is is in a panic state, trying to, like, hey, I'm doing my job, I got to find somebody, right? So
absolutely.
this video ran and got the husband, and actually led the husband back to where his wife was, and they were able to call 911 and get it taken care of. But yeah, do your homework.
There you go.
Because it's out there. The Department of Justice is very clear on this position.
And this is not a difficult accommodation in this situation.
This is an easy one. Yeah.
All right. Next bad boss nominee. I've been at my job for a little over a year. I asked my boss for a raise, and he asked if I really needed it. It stumped me, seeing how I am barely getting by. I said yes. He went over my bills, and at the end he said, you'll have $4,000 at the end of the year saved up, so no. That $4,000 is just after bills, not having any fun or stuff that needs to be done. I talked to some other people who have been here for a while. One was here for 7 years and hasn't once gotten a raise. The other has been here a lot longer and does most of the stuff around here, and if she left, the company would fail. She said that she too asked for a raise a couple of months ago, and our boss went through her bills and said no. I'm just kind of over it, if you know what I mean. You put your best effort into something, make it nice, so no complaints for the whole year, and lots of compliments from customers, but it all comes down to if I need it, which I do. There you go.
Get another job.
Absolutely.
Not going to be appreciated if you hang in. It's just not going to happen.
And not only that, it is so out of bounds for a boss to say, bring in your bills. That's something you can say no to.
Well, and look, and people respond. So that to me is what I would define as bad behavior. And you know what? Look, here's the deal. And this is a lesson for anybody who's learning too, is that when we are living our lives in a fear-based mentality, in other words, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose my job. You can get another job, whether you really believe it or not. You can. Everybody's capable of that. But when you allow bad behavior into your life and people start taking advantage of that, you're living in a wrong mindset. And this goes out to anybody who's listening. And I have actually been approached with some pretty bad behavior in my time too. I have a shorter threshold for it. Like, I don't really allow it for very long. Some people, like, when some people yell, scream, and cuss, and they're just venting, then I recognize that as venting. But when it becomes the norm and not the exception, I don't have a long leash for that. I'm not in that, right? So same thing with people who ask for things that are inappropriate. just look at what happened to better.com recently, where the
Oh,
CEO
goodness
of that
gracious.
organization released 900 employees, which I don't have a problem if they have to release 900 employees. That's a big suck, right? Because sometimes, yes, you have to put the survival of the business first. However,
Absolutely. I have zero
how
problem with
you do it,
layoffs.
right? How you do it is different. And in this case, he got 900 of these employees together on one Zoom call, which I don't know how the mailing man, they paid out the nose for that. But anyway, it got 900 people on one Zoom call. It was he sounded like he was well prepared for it. He was in a crappy background, sitting on a table in some break room somewhere, and basically told everybody on the call, as effective immediately, you are terminated. And the woman who recorded it was in the background yelling and crying, I can't believe everything that we've done for you, and this is how you treat us. And you know what? Bad behavior, right?
Well, not
So
only that, and then he talked about how difficult it was for him
yeah,
to
he's
fire
a
them.
narcissist.
Yeah, super,
He's a
super
narcissist.
narcissistic. And I get it. I've terminated a lot of people, and it is
Yeah, so have
hard.
I.
It's really hard, but it's not about you. It's about the person.
Them.
And so you can go home and cry later.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the last thing you say is, you're fired, and I feel really bad that I had to tell you this because now it's making me sad. Holy narcissism, Batman. Just
Yeah.
like, no.
Yeah, I just today wrote an article on this for entrepreneur.com. It's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But there's 3 lessons and 3 takeaways on that. So yeah, but again, it's bad behavior, right? I mean, you pretty much created, Suzanne, plug your ears. You
Okay.
created a shitstorm for your HR people. Sorry, but you did.
Well,
And
and that better.com guy, 3 of his executives resigned after this, including the head of public relations.
do you know that they actually shut down the website?
It doesn't surprise me.
They had to shut down the website that day and this took place on December 6th. I think it was either the 5th or the 6th. It was just recently.
Yeah, it was last
They
week.
wound up shutting down the website, saying that they was making home improvements. Yeah, I mean, it has completely like taken the colon out of this company and tied a big knot in it and stuck it right back up again. I know that's pretty vulgar, but that's basically what it is. But the thing is that this guy it was very clear to me that either he didn't work with HR or he completely ignored HR's advice as to don't do this on a mass video call.
I
And
really
you know
hope
what?
it was ignoring their advice and not that
Learn the lessons. Well, look, there are people that don't know how to deal with somebody like him, and everybody's learned a really bad lesson as a result of that. And yeah, ethically, that was horrible. So
it was really, really horrible. And I look back on the terminations that I've done, and one of the things that we always did as HR is we gave a script to the manager, and they weren't required to stick right to it, but we gave them the phrases and the
you gave them the
words
talking points.
and all of that so that they didn't say something stupid.
Right.
Because those things can be really nerve-wracking, and stupid things can come out of your mouth when you're nervous. That's why we gave them a script. I suspect he would have rejected any such help from HR. But if you need to terminate someone, even if it's you alone, write out a script for yourself, because it is hard. It is hard. But it's not about you. But that's
and in this case with better.com, I have no doubt in my mind that not only did he either not partner with HR or did not consult HR or did not take HR's guidance, he also didn't talk to public relations or didn't discuss or didn't take public relations advice on this, or even worse, that he's got junior people in position who also have not experienced this. If the PR person from that company resigned as a result of this, that's somebody who has either recognized that this is not the place for me, or it was so egregious that they're trying to remove themselves from some form of liability.
Yeah.
So,
all right, shall we do another nominee?
Yes, go right on ahead.
All right, here we go. I took a job a few months ago doing benefits for a new company and recently have started to feel uneasy about one of my job duties. For now, this particular duty has been delegated to my manager, who has experience in benefits, but only started at this company a week before me. So I haven't been doing it, but I'm worried about when the time comes up for me to take it back on. Every week, we receive a report from our health insurance company with the names of employees who had a claim process this week and the costs associated with their claims.
How big is this company? Sorry.
It doesn't say.
It doesn't say. Okay. So so just so people know that if they're getting this information, then they're either mid-size or large-size group plans. Go on.
All right. The file itself doesn't contain anything confidential, but it does have the medical code associated with the employee's claim. Our job is to find the most expensive claims, generally anything above $3,000, and look up the medical codes and figure out what treatment the employee had and why, which sometimes inevitably leads to that person's medical diagnosis. And then send the names of these employees with their medical treatments and health information to our chief operating officer and VP of HR for approval. We have to include a note as to whether we expect to see any future high cost claims for that person. When I first started, I really didn't think anything of it, but after being here for a few months and seeing the not illegal but less than ethical approach this company takes in other situations, it started to make my stomach churn. And the more I thought about it, the less sense it made to even be doing this file in the first place, because one, our health insurance companies provide these claims by the time we get the report, and two, we still have to pay an insurance company whether the COO approves the file or not. And while I can't prove anything for certain, there has been at least one person whose name has appeared on the file several times and was let go not long after. I definitely don't plan on sticking around long term, so I don't want to make a huge deal out of this. But at the same time, I don't feel right sending this information around like that. If I had a serious disease or embarrassing medical issue, I wouldn't want anyone to know about it, let alone the COO and VP of HR at my work. When the time comes for me to start doing this task again, I thought about just sending the information without including anyone's names, but I'm doubtful that they will allow this, since one of the few times they did it, the COO asked for the names of the people specifically. Is this illegal? And if it's not, how much can I push back on it?
Okay, so there's not a illegal real thing here, because what this is sounding like to me is that this is a self-insured company with a self-insured plan, of which they absolutely would have to take a look at that information. Ultimately, yes, you would need to look up the treatment code, and this is normal. You would also, and in doing so, yes, you probably will become aware of whose claim this now belongs to. The differentiator at this point is the elimination suspicion. Now, this employee doesn't understand why a high cost employee was released. It could have been for performance reasons, and it may not have had anything to do with what's going on with the insurance information, right? Or the claims information. And yes, in a self-insured claims situation, depending upon the rules of governance, that the company may or may not be able to decline the claim. And typically what happens is that insurance companies actually are the ones that manage this, but that's not always the case.
But if they are taking this on, this is one of the rare situations where HIPAA applies to the company, because now they are
I haven't gotten
a provider.
So I haven't gotten to that part yet.
Yeah, but this is a very important part, that then this becomes illegal to start passing this information around. And plus, it sets you up for all sorts of violations: FMLA, ADA, GINA, pregnancy discrimination. All of those things are super, you have to be super cautious about.
So I'm trying to hold on to my train of thought. That's
okay.
Yeah, you almost derailed me there.
Sorry.
That's okay. So yes, I was going to say all that too, but since this is supposed to be my reaction, love you, girl. Anyway, where I was going with this is that to prevent violations like this, and this individual is a doer. They're not a leader in this, right?
Right. They're just a lackey.
Yeah. And so I hate that word, not lackey, but they're a doer. Anyway, This is a company that sounds like they don't have a lot of experience in this in the long haul, or somebody in place who understands the ramifications behind this. Yes, you can discuss cost affiliated with claims because you have access to that data. In doing so, the claim information that should be shared is the very generalized type of care that the employee or employee's dependent is receiving, and the cost. But that is the extent that should get shared with the C-suite and any other form of leadership, because ultimately, regardless of whether or not the person is sick, not sick, anything, it has nothing to do with the performance that's being exhibited in the job or at the workplace. So this is a mismanagement of information. It's an overreach of power within the organization. And this is not how self-insured should be managed. This is not
No,
how the analysis of benefit claims should be handled. And yes, when you look at claim information and you're exposed to people in the company, yeah, can you figure out who's who? Sure, of course you can. But you know, we're human beings and our bodies are machines that do tend to break down. And if you have one myocardial infarction, which is basically a funky way of saying a heart attack, it's expensive. It's a $1 million claim at the end of the year. I mean, it's easy, $1 million claim. But you know what? Like a car part that breaks down on a vehicle, when you fix it or replace it, it puts it like a car when you get it new or relatively new. All those parts, the things that have been working together, work together for a long period of time. You replace one of those things, and the performance of the new part is higher than the rest of the parts. Well, guess what? That puts added stress and tension mechanically on that stuff. Same thing with our bodies. We fix one thing, guess what? After a while, something else starts getting impacted, and that means our warranty is out, right? So, you know, is it common that things, other things accompany something like a myocardial infarction or somebody who has diabetes? Yeah, absolutely it does. Does it mean that the employee, it's like, are they going to cost more money? Yeah, they're going to cost more money. We all do as we age. We need more medical attention as we grow older. Or if we have a unique situation, we may have a lifelong situation that requires more attention and focus on the medical care. That comes with hiring human beings. It doesn't matter who it is. But the question, if they're trying to analyze, like, what can we do about the cost, is actually really have to analyze the data in order to adjust to that. To answer this person's question, though, if this is a doer and not a leader, then the doer is not going to be in a position to say, hey, listen, I learned that this is unlawful, or we're putting the company at risk by allowing any form of information about the individual to get out. It's in our email service, which means that IT has access to it now too. And, you know, look, we know that technology can get shared, right? So it's just not a good way of managing or handling this stuff. And look, you got to be careful when you're an armchair quarterback and somebody gets terminated and you have access to that kind of data. You don't really know the reason why. And if you make the assumption that they were terminated on the premises of their high cost in healthcare, and they were actually terminated for an egregious violation, and you make it known, you've got skin in the game on that too.
well, but there's a
There's
difference
a lot
here
going on here to unpack.
between this one person. I mean, the one person can prompt you to investigate. I think this is something where that absolutely needs a whistle blown, saying, hey, listen, this is not good. This is not okay. And
this person is probably not in a position to say that.
why not? Why can
No, I mean, not to leadership. They probably aren't politically in a position to say that to leadership. But that doesn't
politically
mean that they don't have an upline to take that.
they can
that
take
course
it to the
up.
upline
Right.
to their boss? And
Correct.
the thing is that oftentimes in situations like this, where you feel slightly uncomfortable, but everybody else seems to be okay with it, what the situation is everybody feels slightly uncomfortable and thinks that everybody else is okay with it. So it takes one person saying, you know, if this person said to their boss, look, this is wrong. I can't do this. And then that gives the boss support and like, okay, yeah. And then she can go to her boss and she can go to her boss. Also, on these types of things where there is such a potential for the disaster and a clear HIPAA violation, if we're sending out employees' names with their medical information around, you can report that anonymously.
Sure you can.
Depending on the state you're in, there may be whistleblower laws to protect you. But there is also things where I wouldn't stick around in a company like this.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either.
Because
If it, go ahead, finish on.
just saying, if they're willing to be dishonest and corrupt about one thing, and person also said at the beginning of their email that this is not the only shady thing they do, I would run for the hills.
Yeah, I wouldn't be involved.
Because this is also the exact type of company that would run out of money to pay you and not pay you, or would fire you for no reason, or fire you for an illegal reason. So get the heck out of Dodge.
And beyond that, since you are in an administrative position, you could actually have individual liability associated with that as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of, granted, even though I think the premise behind this particular company has been made that they're not on the straight and narrow, but look, just again, you have to have somewhat of an open mind when you read and hear about these things, that it doesn't always apply to every company. And you have to really, truly, fully understand the process, because that comes back down to my number one live and die rule, is that in the absence of information, people make stuff up. And that can actually cause problems for companies that may have genuinely, honestly made a mistake out of sheer ignorance. And it's just something that needs to get corrected. This is not that case, but not every company, that when we hear things and what we see in the news and everything, is entirely wrong. And you don't always know the backside of the story. And just, all I'm saying is just be objective on both sides. Do your due diligence before you actually make a judgment and figure out how to move forward.
Absolutely. And sometimes moving forward means
moving out.
And you know what? It is okay to change jobs. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Look, I've been in a similar situation where I have gone up to leadership and I'm like, this is not right. This is inappropriate. We're going to get ourselves into trouble. And point blank, they've come back and said, well, we don't care about that. Well, guess what? In a very short period of time, I was not around. I'm not sticking around for that outcome, because that places responsibility on me, and I'm not willing to take that responsibility, because my job is to protect the company. And if I can't do it, I'm going to go to a company that's willing to allow me to do that.
There you go. Well, all right. There are a few of our worst manager nominees for 2021. And if you want to read the whole list, you can go to Alison's website, askamanager.com, and see the whole thing and participate in the voting. And yeah, there's some pretty rotten managers out there, and some pretty tough situations that people find themselves in. So hopefully you are not one of the worst managers.
No, but you know what? To counter that, there's also a lot of really good ones too.
There are, but nobody collects lists of the top 10 best managers.
Actually, they do. They are out there.
All right. That's your homework, Brenda. You find us a nice list.
I will.
Of the top 10 best managers.
I will.
All right.
I absolutely will.
There we go.
I will find it. I will happily, gauntlet has been dropped, and I will happily take that challenge.
All right. Awesome.
I know, look, and the only reason I'm saying it is that, yes, learning from people's mistakes is very important. It really is. The reason why those lists are out there are not to stand in judgment and ridicule and part of being a human being, but at the same time, we also have to remember that there are takeaways from this, what not to do. If you find yourself in a situation, you're doing something like that, don't fall victim to it. Find a way to fix it. If you don't, you're going to get yourselves in huck. And, whether you have 5 employees or 500 employees or 5,000 employees, look, one mistake can impact a number of people. And, life is hard enough as it is, especially right now. Why make it harder for yourself?
Exactly.
So did you have fun with this?
I did have fun with this. Did you have fun with it?
I did. Of course I did. I like being challenged with those things. I like when people tell me a situation and I get to think through it and look at all angles of it very quickly in my mind and how this can unfold, or, what are the good takeaways from it. I always like doing that.
There you go. Well, it is fun. I mean, that's kind of the fun thing about what we do in our lives, is that we help people solve problems.
That's right.
And
We're actually pretty darn tootin' good at it too.
we are darn tootin' good. Darn tootin'.
It's like the
There
name
you
of
go.
Suzanne and Brenda's darn tootin' good chili.
Oh
Darn tootin'
gosh.
we're good at it.
I do, for the record, make excellent chili. But
Yeah,
anyway.
I open a can and I put it with cream cheese and shredded cheese and chips, and we're good.
You know what? That works too. That works too, man. You do cream cheese?
Yeah.
Fascinating. I use sour cream.
And then you bake it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's very, very good munchies for extremely cold days and football games. And it will get you invited back if you bring it to a party. I promise. There's a couple of things. So there's that will come back. A pepperoni dip that I make has gotten me invited back a number of times. That is a seasoned favorite. Holy cow. And then my chicken wings.
See, for me, I make a 5-layer bean dip, and I bring that to everything with a bag of chips, and it is always the first thing gone. So this is how I build my self-esteem, is potlucks when my thing is the first thing eaten.
Mine are all the munchies things. So I do a green salsa, which is I learned years ago, and then there's this really cool, it's a white corn. It's not even a salsa. I don't even know what you want to call it, but it's white corns. It has beans in it. And oh my gosh, it is so addictive when you start eating it. It's like, oh, we can't stop. Everybody's like, I can't stop eating this. This is just too good. I'm like, I know it's the weirdest looking thing in the world, but it is so good.
Okay, so join us next week for
our
the
cooking
Real
show.
HR show recipe.
Anyway,
good at party food, and you should all invite us to your properly socially distant parties, or whatever you're doing these days. I don't even know. All the rules keep changing all the time.
That's right. So we're gonna wrap this up here. Tell them where they can find you and how they can find your community.
You can find me at my website, www.evilhrlady.org, or at my Facebook group, which is called, drumroll please, no drumroll, Evil HR Lady. And we are just about to 9,000 members. So
wow,
come join and be member number 9,000, and then you win a prize or something, which actually I have no prizes, but you could think you might win a prize. Oh, nope, we passed 9,000 today. Sorry.
Oh, when you're 10,000.
There's to 10,000. We're at 9,041. So
wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, cool. Well, you can find me. I'm Brenda, the HR Lady. You can find me on my website, brendathehrlady.com, but you can also find me on my new app called Brenda, the HR Lady. You can download it over on Apple, and you can download it over on Google if you have an Android. In it, you'll find there's a ton of free content in there. There's some courses in there that you can take as well. There's a lot of really good stuff, and it is building every week, which is really great. So you've got a lot of really great information in the palm of your hand that's accessible at any point in time. And you can also join my group over on Facebook, which is called the Next Gen Women in Facebook group. And we have guys over there as well. But I want to congratulate everybody who is part of the HR club here in Clubhouse, because we have now 19,000 members.
Holy smokes, Brenda.
Yes. Yep. 19,000 members here. We are the largest HR club in Clubhouse. And if you have an HR topic that you want to talk about, this is an open group, which means that you can, as long as it's HR related, you can host your own events, you can host your own rooms, you can have really great conversations. And we invite you to do that because look, this is a very interesting industry right now. And we absolutely want to have people share knowledge and help each other out. So having the largest HR club and Clubhouse means that we've opened it up so that way you guys can share information and support one another.
Amazing. Amazing.
So we will talk to you guys. Yeah, so we're going to talk to you guys next week. Same bat channel, same bat time, and we'll look forward to it.
We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.